In Unexpected Futurist, we profile the lesser-known futurist side of influential individuals. This episode's unexpected time traveler, Frederick Douglass.
Few evils are less accessible to the force of reason than a long-standing prejudice. It is a moral disorder which creates the conditions necessary to its own existence and fortifies itself by refusing all contradiction. As those who believe in the visibility of ghosts can easily see them, so it is always easy to see repulsive qualities in those we despise and hate.
Frederick Douglass was born a slave and was separated from his mother while still an infant, and yet by the time Douglass was in his late 30s, he was one of America's best-known orators, abolitionists, authors, and women's rights activists. His face and beard are iconic images in American history, but the incredible breadth of his vision for the future beyond the Civil War is less widely known.
What the Negro was as a slave, we know. What he will be in his new relation to his fellow man, time and events will make clear. One thing, however, may safely be laid down as probable, that the Negro, in one form and complexion or another, may be counted upon as a permanent element of the population of the United States.
Despite being an optimist about the long-term future, Douglass could also be a realist, especially as civil rights progress stalled in the years after the war. But while many argued that American society would ultimately split into distinct black and white classes, Douglass argued that it should not, and in the long run could not, happen.
I do not think that the Negro will become more distinct as a class. The tendency of the age is unification, not isolation, not to clans and classes, but to human brotherhood. It was once degradation intensified for a Norman to associate with a Saxon, but time and events have swept down the barriers between them, and Norman and Saxon have become Englishmen. The Jew was once despised and hated in Europe, and is so still in some parts of that continent. But he has risen, and no man is now degraded by association with him anywhere.
Today, Douglass's words here contain more meaning than he anticipated. While in many ways, he was correct in predicting the erosion of boundaries based on race, ethnicity, or family history in society, his words also foreshadow the grotesque violence that would ensue roughly 56 years later in the Holocaust. Douglass admitted that in his darker moments he sometimes worried that a similar fate would befall black Americans in a sudden hysteria of violence. Douglass's faith that society was moving, if unevenly, in the right direction was not solely due to a simple faith in human nature. He saw technology as an important key towards making the world smaller and in making injustices more difficult to conceal. In 1848, Douglass wrote in his newspaper, The North Star, about the impact he had seen from new technologies while traveling Europe.
Thanks to steam navigation and electric wires, we may almost hear the words uttered and see the deeds done. The revolution now cannot be confined to the place or the people where it may commence, but flashes with lightning speed from heart to heart, from land to land, till it has traversed the globe.
A few years later, Douglass delivered perhaps his most iconic speech, 1852's The 4th of July. The speech analyzed the 4th of July from a slave's point of view.
There are forces in operation which must inevitably work the downfall of slavery. Nations do not now stand in the same relation to each other that they did ages ago. No nation can now shut itself up from the surrounding world and trot around in the same old path of its fathers without interference. Long-established customs of hurtful character could formally fence themselves in and do their evil work with social impunity.
In the years after the Civil War, much of Douglass's public time was spent fighting the resurgence of de facto slavery in the South, but he continued throughout his life to speak on behalf of others.
Usage, custom, and deeply rooted prejudices are against women's freedom. They have been against man's freedom, national freedom, religious freedom, but these will all subside in the case of women as well as elsewhere.
Throughout his life, the many causes Frederick Douglass championed saw incredible breakthroughs and monumental setbacks. When he died in 1895, it was far from clear that the future would be an improved one for Black Americans, much less that his dream of an unprejudiced America could ever be achieved. but he never stopped working.
We have to do with the past only as we can make it useful to the present and to the future. Your fathers have lived, died, and have done their work. You must do your work. We have as a people no past and very little present, but a boundless and glorious future. With us, it is not so much what has been or what is now, but what is to be in the good time coming.
If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and check out our other videos. Thanks for watching!